everyone. We've got a few more moments before we get started, but I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Kelsey. I'm with the Voces Digital team, and I'll be hosting today, this evening. So if you have any questions, feel free to add them in the chat. I'll answer them if I can, or call attention to them if I need to. But we're going to get started here in just a moment with Adriana. Want to give everyone a few more minutes, but I'll go ahead and do the introduction. Adriana Ramirez is a Colombian author. She's also a Spanish teacher and a teacher trainer. She teaches all levels of Spanish, all the way from beginners up to IB students, and uses mainly comprehensible input methodologies. Regularly coaches other teachers and presents workshops in Canada, the United States, and in Europe. She also has a double major in psychology, a degree in clinical psychology, and a master's in education. On top of all of that, she has a great passion for sharing the beauty of her country and her people with the world, and you can see this in all of her published novels, many of which we feature in the Voces curriculum, and of course, what she'll be talking to us about this evening. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over so we will be able to see the presentation. And just so everyone knows, this will be recorded. We'll send out an email with the link, and it will be available with our other past events on our website.
Hello, and I think someone raised their hand.
I saw that as well. Did someone have a question off the bat? Or was it just a wave? I think it may have been.
That was me by mistake. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Thank you. Thank you, Kelsey, for the introduction. And hello, everyone. For me, it's 3:29. I am in the Pacific Coast in Vancouver, British Columbia. So I just came back from work. I see here my colleague, Armando Chua Martinez. He works with me at my school, colleagues and friends, and so many people are here. Okay, so let's get started because we have an hour and that's not a lot of time for all the things that I have to say. And if you have questions, please write them on the chat and I will try to answer them as we go. Let me open the chat so I can keep an eye on it. Okay. So today you're here for this workshop, different ways to use novels in the classroom. I am going to use as examples some of the books that I wrote and some of the books that Margarita Perez Garcia wrote, which is my friend, but it applies to any books that you use in the classroom. Hola, Ada from Florida. So these are the books that I have published. I published 20 books. My latest book is Cumbia, Hija de dos Tierras, written for level 1. If you speak Spanish, I am the host of this podcast along with Margarita Perez Garcia. It's called Armando Bochinche, Rompiendo el Silencio Colonial. It's a podcast in which we talk about decolonizing our language classrooms. We talk about topics that are usually silenced in our world language world. So I really recommend that you give yourselves the opportunity to listen to this podcast. This is my Instagram handle. It's a teacher's account. Everything that I publish is related to teaching, using novels in the class, decolonization. This is my YouTube channel, and this is my website in which you can find more information about myself and my books. So from that being said, let's get started. So as we all know, reading is a vital source of comprehensible input. So our students get input from two sources, us speaking in class and reading. Those are the two sources of input. So reading is vital. It's so important in our classes. So we have to make an effort to incorporate reading regularly into our lessons to really help the students in that acquisition process. But how can we integrate novels into our weekly routines without extensive preparation? So I'm going to share with you different ways that I use novels in the class. Number one, a very common one that I assume you already know. Anna, hello. I also know Anna from Canada. A way that I assume you already know is free voluntary reading. So it's very important to build a classroom library. I know it's not easy. Every year, we don't have a lot of budget. I am in a public school. Every year, I get $100 here, $100 there. I write to my PAC, my Parents Association, to get some money. So every year I get $200 or $300, and then I invest those dollars in books, and my classroom library, it's growing. So you need to have a robust, good classroom library for the language that you teach. I know some languages have more books, and you have to organize. I mean, that's my recommendation, not that you have to, but organize it by levels, because you help the students guide their choosing. I don't like organizing the classroom library by themes. I like by levels, and I have shoe boxes. Again, I'm in a public school. There are no a lot of money. There is no budget to buy fancy furniture. So I bring shoe boxes to organize my classroom library. When I need more boxes, unfortunately I have to go shopping and buy another pair of shoes so I can get an extra box. And I have a couple box ones, a couple box two, a couple box three. So I organize it by levels, and that helps the students in the selection of the book. So the idea of the free voluntary reading is that the students choose a book that they want to read. Now, I don't start it with my year one students from the beginning. I wait until they have built some Spanish foundations and some resistance, endurance to read. I read with them every week, extended readings from the stories we do in class. So once I know they have built some endurance to read independently, which would be halfway the semester, then I will jump in and introduce the free voluntary reading. So I organize them by level, like I said. They can take the book home or return it and put it in their own bookmark. This depends on you. My IB students, I let them take the books home, and they read a lot, and it's free voluntary reading. I don't even track what they're doing, but I can see that they read 3 or 4 books per week. So my IB students, I let them take the book home, but my younger students, I don't. They put the bookmark and they put it back there. So this depends on you, how many students you have, how many classes you have, how many books you have. I have a reading log in which they write the title of the book they are reading, but I honestly don't do anything with that. It's just more for them to keep track, like, and I just go and check, like, well, this person has read 8 books, or this person has read 3 books, but that's it. Like, the reading log is for them to write the title. I kind of see that who's reading and who's not, but I want this to be a process that they enjoy. They're not going to get marks for this. And then for upper level, so I teach IB. I teach beginners, grade 9 and 10, and then I teach IB, which is advanced level in the United States. I know you have IB, but you also have AP or honors. It would be kind of equivalent. So for upper levels, I use the books that they are reading. So I tell them, grab the book that you're reading, take it out of your backpack, the book that you took home, and we're going to use that book to practice, because I need to teach them in IB. I must teach them how to write blogs, essays, reviews, articles, emails, letters. So I have to teach them like 10 different writing formats. That is part of the IB requirements. So I tell them, pull out the book, and we're going to learn how to write a blog. Each one has a different book, so each one will focus the blog from a different perspective, and we'll use the book to help them talk about the topic, pull information from the book. But I have found It helps them with the rereading. Sometimes I mark that, sometimes I don't, but it's a good way to help them dive into these writing formats and reread the book. So it serves two purposes. To write that, they have to reread pieces of the book, which is great because rereading is magic. And they're also practicing these advanced writing formats that I must teach in my IB classes. Do I have someone here that teaches IB or AP? If you want to write on the chat, me, or no, IB or, oh, Sherry, IB, AP, Beatriz. AB, oh, okay, so we have some ABs and some AP. So you know that they need to write, they need to learn how to write those writing formats. So sometimes I find it very not personalized when I say, okay, let's write a blog. What are we going to write about? And then I take a lot of time trying to brainstorm ideas to write a blog. I just tell them, pull out your book and we're going to write. I give them the format. These are the instructions. This is how we write it. Let's write to the characters. Let's write about the topic, about the situation. Bill Van Patten says that the magic for language acquisition happens when we're doing the rereading. We humans, when we read something, our brains automatically, the first time, we want to know the storyline. We want to know what happens. When we reread is when we start picking up patterns of the language unconsciously. So when we use in advanced classes, I'm talking about advanced classes, when we use these books to learn how to write these writing formats, they have to go back and reread pieces of the book. So it's also a good way in the process of language acquisition. So free voluntary reading, it's a must in a language class. I know it's not easy to get a lot of books, but little by little, year by year, you can start building your free voluntary reading library. Book talk. I love this. So each week I choose a book that is at the student's level and talk about it. So if it's for my Spanish 9, which is my first year Spanish student, I will choose a book from box 1. Remember, I have them organized in shoe boxes. If it's I'm talking to my grade 10s, which is Spanish 2, I will choose a book from box 2. And if it's for my IB students, I will choose a book from box 3 or 4. So each week, and this takes 5 minutes, 10 minutes, nothing big. But each week I share a little bit about a book. I show them the cover, the title. I talk about the author, if I know the author or not, where the author is from, anything that I know, everything in the target language. I keep it easy when I'm talking to my grade 9 students, and I go more advanced when I'm talking to my IB students. Look at the cover. Based on the cover, let's work on predictions. What do you think the book is going to be about? I kind of tell them this book is about a little bit. I don't tell them the whole story. I don't give them the ending, but I talk about the book. I tell them I love this book because, or I don't like this book. Some books I don't like, and they're in my classroom library, and I don't like them. And I say, I don't like this book because, and I put it back there, and I know this is a way for them to get closer to the books. And when it's time for them to pick up the book and read it, they already have connections to these books that I share about and did the book talk about. And then they come back and tell me, I liked the book. I agree with you. Or Ms. Ramirez, the book that you didn't like, I actually liked it. Why didn't you like it? So we have conversations about books, and it's pretty cool. And it gives me an excuse to be in the target language, to share with them a little bit about books. It makes them closer to the books, become familiar with the books and with some titles, with some authors as well. And for upper levels, the students have, okay, so this is me with the younger ones, grade 9 and 10, year 1 and 2. Also at the beginning of IB, I do this, but later, when with my IB students that are more advanced, later in the course, when they feel more confident, I give them, they are the ones who have to do the book talk. So I give them 2 minutes, 2 minutes by clock, in which they're going to stand in front of the class with the book that they have been reading, and they're going to share with the class the title, the author, what the book is about, and if they liked the book or not, and why. For the IB students, this is very important because they have to work on critical thinking. It's kind of like an oral book review that they do in front of the class. So it's actually pretty cool to listen to their opinions. I loved this book because this book is about this and this, and I loved it because, or I didn't like it because. So sharing about their books and learning from each other's and the opinions that every person in the class have of the books is really powerful. And also it gives me an excuse for my advanced students to give them an oral mark. The IB and the AP students need to get this to get this kind of marks. So, for example, when I'm using Cumbia, I talk about the cover, the elements. When you see books written by different authors, the covers say a lot about the books. So when I'm using Cumbia, I bring the book. I'm not going to read the book to them. I am just going to share a little bit about the book, a book talk. So I talk about the 3 instruments. What is the name of the instruments? I write it on the board. Who, and then always an excuse to do personalized questions. Who in the class plays instruments? What instruments do you play? Do we play these instruments in Canada? Do we have this in the band? My school has a jazz band. Do we have those instruments in the jazz band? What instruments do we have in the jazz band? Sorry. Where are the instruments? What is this? Is this an ocean or a river? Are these mountains? Look at the colors. What are these colors representing? So I can take the cover, and the cover can give me an opportunity to speak at least for 10 minutes about the book. And then I will share a little bit about the book. I might show a couple illustrations from the book, and then I put it away, and then that's it. Same when I do a book talk of Las Moscas. These are the 3 books that I wrote about Las Moscas, and these are all the books in the collection so far. I loved doing this book talk with these titles because I tell them, I know the other author, I wrote some of them, the other author, I know her, and all the titles have the word mosca. So they start getting familiarized with, oh, mosca, another story about mosca. And what does it mean? And what does it mean, this saying? And what does it mean, cara de mosquita muerta? And what does it mean, mosca en leche? So the book talk based on these books allow me to actually provide my students with a lot of comprehensible input. We stay there, we talk about sayings, we talk about what it means, we talk about the equivalent saying in English, and then I share a little bit about the story. Okay, so far we have free voluntary reading and book talk. Any questions? No, we're good. Okay. Now, so this free voluntary reading and book talk, is something that happens every week. You don't need any prep for this. Just wait a little bit until your students have built endurance for reading and they have some foundations for the language. And this, you can start doing it. I usually start after 3 weeks. So I know that I can have more words and more vocab to start doing this. 0 prep time. Easy, you can do 1 per week, a couple per week, depending on the titles that you have. Okay, step 3, free voluntary reading novel study. What are you talking about? So this is like a format of reading that I made up, free voluntary reading novel study. And I love doing it with my 2nd year Spanish students at the end of the course. I love finishing my courses with a book. With my 1st year Spanish students, we read a book as a class. With my 2nd year Spanish students, we read a book, but they read their free voluntary reading but it's an independent novel study. So a novel study means that they're not going to just read the book. There's going to be work attached to the book, but it's free voluntary reading. So it means that they're going to choose the title. And I love this because it helps me differentiate among my students. In my second year classes, I have students that are really advanced, but I also have kids that are not that advanced. They're slower processors, they take more time, they know some Spanish, but they cannot read the same book as the more advanced students. So here, everyone has the chance to be successful. And when I do the assessment, everyone has the chance to do well in the assessment because they get to choose the book. And I tell them, please choose an easy book. You're not impressing me by choosing a hard book. Choose a book that is easy for you, that you can read independently, that you will enjoy, because there is going to be work attached to the book. So I created, I'm going to show you a part of it. I created a form, like a simple Word document that is very general and applies to any book they read. Students choose their own book, work independently to complete the instructions, and read the book. This is independent, and it's at the end of the school year. For us, it's semester. In Canada, in my school, in my district, we have semester. I guess some of you have a full year. Anyways, at the end of the course, I usually give them a couple of weeks, but I see them every day. So for some of you, if you don't see them every day, it might be a month to complete the work and turn it in. I do this at the end of the semester, the course, and the final exam is based on the book they read. So here I am differentiating and giving everyone a chance to pass, to be successful, and to feel that they learned Spanish, because the final exam is based on the book that we chose, that they chose. Let me check if I have questions. How many copies of each book do you usually have, or the students need to pick different books? Thank you for that question. I usually have, it depends. Some books I have 2, 3, 4, up to 5 in my free voluntary reading. So I have, yeah, they choose, and if I have no more copies of those titles, they have to choose a different title. I try to have my favorite titles that I know they will like. I tend to have 5, 6 copies of those titles because I want to make sure everyone has the chance to read that. But for example, in Moscas, I have a lot of copies of each title and all the books that I like. Done. Is the novel essentially a book report? Do you have them answer? Becca, good question. I'm going to show you. They always answer in Spanish. They always answer in Spanish. I'm going to show you. So I give them this in Spanish. These are my second year students at the end of their second year of Spanish. They can understand this in Spanish and they can answer this in Spanish. So the first questions are to help them explore the book. How many chapters does the book have? Does it have illustrations? How many illustrations per chapter? Look at the illustrations. What can you deduce from them? I know I'm not expecting a huge essay on this answer, but they know enough to be able to talk about it. Look at the cover. What can you tell about the cover? Now read chapter 1. So as you can see, these steps guide them in the reading, and they will have several classes to go through that. Read and answer, read and answer. And then at the end, when they finish the book, they have to write a summary in their own words. What do you learn? A moral. Write a letter to the author and do a smash doodle. This is the instructions that I give them. I give it to them in Spanish. I don't have it in English. I give it to them in Spanish because I teach Spanish. They answer in Spanish. It takes them a lot of time to do this. It takes them 2 or 3 weeks to finish all of this. and they're working independently. They're listening to their music. They're reading their book. I love it. It's so chill. And at the end of the semester, it gives me a good time for me also to answer emails, start working on my report cards, and doing other work that we need. I'm going to go back and see.
I was going to say, it looks like there are a couple of questions in the chat, and Anne has her hand up as well.
Yeah, so thank you, Kelsey. Melissa, here are the questions. And it's free voluntary reading, novel study. These are the questions. These are it. I have them in Spanish. I don't know. I'm not familiar with flangu or flango, Vanessa. I'm sorry. I like my I don't know what flango is or flangu. I like my students having paper copies. I love paper copies of the books. Sometimes they go on the couch, they go to the floor, they lay down. If it's nice outside, we'll go to the courtyard, we sit under a tree. So I want paper copies of the book because I want that experience of reading from a book. I don't know if flangu is paper copies or digital, but I am fighting a fight with the phones and devices. So I want paper copies. I want the phones in their backpacks and them connected with me. And Maite, I'm reading your question. Adriana, should the students choose books only from their school library, or can they choose books they have at home or would like to read there or not? Maite, like if you have heritage speakers and they have books, Spanish books at home, go for it. Go for it. Yes. I like them choosing books from my classroom library, but once in a while, a heritage speaker, I do have heritage speakers as well, say, oh, my mom has this book, can I read it? Go for it. But I also find that sometimes other books might be too big and might get overwhelming, and I want them to, a good sized book that is challenging and good and big, but not too much, so they can enjoy the process. Smash Doodle, I won't have time to go over Smash Doodle today, but I might at the end. But it's a way of expressing your ideas, like a diary entry. And then, oh, someone wrote it there. Perfect. Zilia, reading and completing the log. Reading is not homework. I don't know what you're talking about, Zilia. I'm going to go back. So free voluntary reading is not homework, it's reading, and it happens in class. For my upper levels, I let them take the book home. It's not homework. If they don't want to take a book, I don't care. So it's not homework. Completing the log is only write the book that you decided to check out. I am not checking if they read it or not. I will never know. I don't care. So it's not homework per se. I don't know if I answered your question. And Raul says, how much time would you recommend spend in reading one book? Raul, it depends. Are you asking about free voluntary reading? That's up to them. One student can spend a whole month reading one book. If it's reading as a class, as a novel, I usually take 2 to 3 weeks. Oh, Vanessa, online library. Yes. So I am trying. Thank you. Thank you for answering those that answered about Flangu. I'm trying to move away from online as much as I can. Again, because they are so attached to their phones and iPads that just I can't. And your turn, my love.
For me?
Yes.
Was that the second slide on, or was there one that actually said FDR?
It's cutting. I can't hear you well. I can't hear you well.
Oh, is this better? Or here? Here?
There, try again.
Okay, so actually, I had 2 questions. One was just if there was a second slide that I didn't see, or was the Mosca, was that the second slide? And then number 2 was if our students write to you, do you want us to forward you their responses?
Okay, so wait.
If you are the
Second
author.
slide? Oh, about the author. Second slide, I don't know what you're talking about. 1, 2.
That was one. Oh, okay, that's the one I missed. Okay, sorry.
the book talk.
I
And if you
just
want
have a
to
quick
share,
look.
if you want to share letters that your students write to me as an author,
That's what I was thinking, yes.
yeah, go ahead. I can't answer all of them, and I don't, but yeah, you can send them to me, and when I have time, I will at least send them a little sentence and a little thing through you, the teacher.
Okay, that would be amazing, because I know one of the things they like to do best, we do an exchange at the local university, and they love getting the letter back. But if we were to write to you, it might be fun if I don't tell them that I actually know you, and you write something just to the class in general, that would be amazing.
I will do that, yes. If it's 30 students writing them back, I can't, but a general letter, yes. So this I'm going, thank you, Anne. The free voluntary reading novel study is very powerful because they get to choose the book. They choose the book. And it's very important that they know that it's a book that should feel easy. And they're doing independent work. I'm going to put this again. Take a picture so you can, it's in Spanish, I know, and I know some of you might teach French or other languages, but you can probably type it on ChatGPT and ChatGPT will translate it for you. And it gives you, my loves, that when we teach with comprehensible input, we are on the spot a lot of the time, like we are there on stage. So this is a good way to finish the school year. For me, it's the semester because it's more calm. It's on them. They're getting input from the reading. They're doing their work. And the final exam is going to be about the book. And the final exam is very general. Talk about the main character, summarize the book. What is the moral? So it's 4 questions that apply to any book. Everyone is successful. Now, I always tell them, Barsha, I was going to go there right now. I don't have any problems with Google Translate or ChatGPT or anything. I don't, because from the beginning with my grade 9 students, Spanish 1, I tell them, you're not impressing me. I know the words that you know. I know the words that you know. I know the Spanish that you know. Unless you are a heritage speaker, well, it's different. So when you start using in grade 10 subjunctive, my loves, are no, you're not there yet. So do not try to impress me by these fancy words and grammar structures that Google Translate or ChatGPT gave you. It's not impressing me. You're not going to get a high mark. Use your Spanish and use the Spanish of the book. You have the book. You can open the book. You can copy from the book. All the books have glossaries. Please use the glossary of the book. So I actually encourage them to do that. And I promise you, like, I never, ever, once in a while, I have one student that uses a fancy word for something like, honey, I never taught you this. Where do you get this from? Google Translate. Okay. Let's try to say it in a different way. So I don't have any problems with that, but because from the beginning, I do train them to not be attached to these tools. Use just the Spanish that you have in your heart. And Marie Joelle, hi Marie Joelle, is the final exam oral or written, both. So written, the written one, and I do this with my grade 10s, with my second year Spanish students. I finish my year like this, and I like it because I teach them grade 9, grade 10, IB 11, IB 12. I want every year to be different, to be a different experience, to be a different final exam. So I have a written exam, like I told you, Joel, before, to everyone. Summarize the book, talk about the main character, talk about the characters, what is the moral, like a general thing. And then I do have an oral exam. I start calling them one by one while they're doing the smash doodles and doing that independent work. I start calling them one by one to my desk. They're busy, so I don't have to entertain them or put a movie or anything. Everyone is busy, everyone is working. And I start calling them one by one, 5 minutes, and rehearse questions. Okay, my love, tell me, what is your favorite part of the book? What happens? What's the problem? Where does the book take place? Have you learned something about the book? Can you make a connection with the story and your life? And rehearse questions. They don't know the questions that I'm going to ask them. I don't know the questions that I'm going to ask them because I also regulate the questions depending on the student. If it's a student that needs easier questions, I will ask them easier questions. If I know it's a student that can handle harder questions, I'll go for it. And then we chat about the book, 5 minutes. So I do also get to do a final oral exam about the book. Becca, I have a rubric, a general rubric that applies for any assessment that we built with my department. Can you scaffold by writing? Pienso que, Margarita, I have done that already with the book talk. Because I talk about books, I would say, pienso que el libro es bueno, me gusta el libro, no me gusta el libro, trata de. So yes, that scaffolding that you're talking about, I have done it organically already from the beginning of the semester when I do my book talks. So when it's time for them to write, they have enough Spanish to talk about that. Okay, mis amores, that's how I call my students. This changed, the next one is a game changer for me. And it's a new thing that I introduced last year. Teacher on call plans. We call it in Canada, teacher on call. I know in the United States, you call it substitute teacher. So this saved my butt and my being and my everything. Because you know that when we're sick, precisely, we're sick. So we don't have energy or time to write plans. I'm sick. I have a fever. I don't have energy. I don't want to sit in front of a computer to write plans for my substitute teacher. So that's one. Sometimes we know this, like all of us. I've been sick throughout the night and I wake up in the morning and I just can't go to school. I can't make it. I'm so sick, I can't make it. How am I going to write plans at 6 in the morning? Like, I can't. I don't have energy or brain for that. I'm sick. And the other thing is that in my context, you can count that you will never, ever get a TOC that speaks Spanish. That's a fact. No one speaks Spanish here. We don't have enough Spanish teachers. So I know that if I'm lucky, I will get one, but I will get any TOC, a math TOC, a science TOC. So I would spend some time writing my TOC plans. And then I said, I can't keep doing this. But now with the Mosca collection, and I'm going to talk about the Mosca collection, it's great. And I know I'm part of it, but it's just so great because it's easy readers for level 1. And I do so many things with the Mosca collection. So one of those books, I use them as TOC plans. So what do? I have a page with instructions in English. I'm going to show you in a minute. The instructions are in English for this one because I will not be there. And the TOC then doesn't speak Spanish. I have chosen a specific novel. I have a class set for this. And I have a little table in which I have the TOC novel plans for my Spanish 9, and then for my Spanish 10s, and then for my IBs. So I have 3 class sets that are only to be used when I am sick. I assign and explain this at the beginning of the school year. They must work on their novel study each time I am absent, and that it should be completed by the end of the year. So they work on it when I am absent, or when we are in school and we're getting sick. That day we're getting sick and we have no energy. I will say, you know what? I can't do storytelling today. I just can't. We're gonna work on the novel study. And then it will be completed at the end of the school year. If they need time towards the end, I will give them extra time and I don't have to worry about substitute teacher plans. So last week I was absent 3 days. I was at a meeting with my district, anti-racist meeting with my district 1 day, and then 2 days I was at CI Midwest at the conference. What did I do? Nothing. Students pull out their little 2 pages thing for the book, took the book, worked in class. They're still getting meaningful, comprehensible input. And then that's it. I came back. I asked them Tuesday when I came back, because this past weekend was Thanksgiving in Canada. So Monday we didn't have school. We talked about the book. I want them to keep them accountable a little bit. So we talked about the book. So what have you read? What is it, the book about? What's the main character? So they told me a little bit about the book. We wrap it up, that discussion. That's it. I know they have not finished the book. I know they will need more time. That's the idea. So every time I'm sick, they pull it out. Okay, so Margarita, no, I don't have, my Spanish podcast is for teachers. Marta Jelinek, check this podcast out. It's Cuéntame. It's a Spanish podcast with Spanish stories for students. Check that one out. That one is really good. Lore, mi amor, qué bueno que estás por aquí. So Lore says, hola, do you have a specific book for each level? Yes, mi Lore. Because I want to make sure, and I'm going to show you which ones, that every student can be successful reading that book. So yes, I do have a specific book, a class set of books for this purpose. And Maureen, I'm going to show you that in a minute. Perfect. Okay. So it's 2 pages. If you want to, this is in English. If you want to take a screenshot or a picture for this. So this is in English because I am not going to be there. The other ones are not in English. The free voluntary reading novel study, the previous ones were not in English because I am there. But these are TOC plans. So it's in English. It's fine. They're going to be reading in Spanish. So like before, some of them are preparing them to read the book. I want them to manipulate the book first, to open the book, to close the book, to read, to look at the illustrations, count how many chapters. Then I have a checklist for the smash doodles. I explained the smash doodles. I have a checklist for the smash doodles. No one got to the smash doodles last week when I was absent. I know they won't. I know, but I know by the end of the semester, between the days I'm sick or I'm pulled out for an emergency meeting or something, it will be good. So look at the amount of reading that we do. It's a lot of reading that we do in different ways. Okay, so I'm going to show you, I'm going to go over this and show you the importance of knowing which book you are choosing. So these are classifications that are like worldwide for easy to read books for leveled readers. So a beginner book should move between this amount of words. A beginner's book. Beginners for us would be year 1 and year 2. Our year 2s, second year Spanish, are still beginners, like more high, more advanced beginners. So our level 1 and 2 should move here. So within the Mosca collection, you see that all these books are truly beginners books. So these are books that the students can read independently. Mosca, this one is the one that I use for my TOC plans for my grade 9 students. Last week, we start the semester in September. Last week was my first time being out of the class. They did it. They understood. Remember, all these books have glossary in the backs. They understood. We're fine. Like, we are completely fine. They were successful. They liked it. So I have a class set of this for my year 1, my grade 9 students. And these are uniquely for TOC plans. Now, I like doing Soy Yo la Mosca as a class novel, and I have another class set of Soy Yo la Mosca, and I finish my grade 9 course with this book. But we read it as a classroom novel at the end. When I'm doing the free voluntary reading novel study, I make sure I have at least 5 copies of these ones, because my grade 10 students, year 2, I have a wide range of students. Some of them know a lot of Spanish, but some of them feel like it's still their very, very first month of Spanish. And we know that that happens. So when we're doing the free voluntary reading Spanish, I make sure I have at least 5 copies of this one. So the students that need something easier, they can get a Mosca book. I like, for my grade 10 students, Cara de Mosquita Muerta is the one that I have as my TOC plans for a Spanish 10. Or you can have one or the other one. And the other one, I do it as a novel, as a class novel. So I'm using all these books, and it helps the students with the words, because when we're reading one, they are scaffolding themselves to read the other one and to read the other one. So each book helps the other book be better understood. It's the same theme, it's the same topic, it's talking about flies. So all these books are so important in the classroom for different purposes. Classroom novels, TOC plans, free voluntary reading novel study, they are so important. The numbers on top, thank you for your question, Adrian. The numbers on top mean the word families, las familias de palabras, word families. So how many different word families do you have? So this one has 122 total different word families, but out of these 122, 55 are cognates. Cognates are words that are transparent, meaning when they see them, it's so similar to English that chances are they will figure it out. So look, they move within this early to mid range of easy, very easy year 1 level students. Total family words, and these are the number of cognates. So honestly, these ones would be the different words, the words that are going to be new to them. I was in the chat and then something happened. Okay, how do
Sorry,
you
I
focus?
sent you a private chat. My apologies.
Okay, how do you focus on the new vocabulary from the classroom novel? So we're not in the classroom novel yet. So Margarita, we're not, this is independent reading. So I don't need to do anything because this is a TOC plan independent reading. So I don't need to focus on the new vocabulary. That's why I'm choosing easy to read books so they can use the glossary and they can understand a lot of it. Yes. TOC plan, someone is asking me to go back to the TOC plans. Smash doodle, no, this is the first part, and these are the smash doodles. Graciela, here there are, I have 15 minutes. Adrian, these ranges are coming from an extensive reading literature foundation, extensive reading foundation. You can find it on Google, extensive reading foundation. It's not made up, like it's not made up out of like, that we made it up. It's come from a certified place. A word family, for what is a word family? For example, comer, comer, como, comes, comían, comió, that's a word family. The verb comer and all the possible conjugations, that's a word family. So they belong to the same family. Maite, linguistic learning objective. So I'm just sharing with you. So the linguistic learning objective is learning more, acquiring more Spanish. Critical reflection, cultural, social, not yet. What I've shared with you is different ways of doing reading in the class. We're not doing critical thinking yet. I'm going to answer your question about critical thinking later. Okay. Classroom novels. So now this is a novel that I do as a class. Everyone has a copy of the book, and I am the director of the orchestra here. I'm doing all the scaffolding, all the preloading, everything for this novel to be successful. Okay, so for this classroom novel, you can actually choose a novel that is a little bit more difficult, a little bit a higher level than where they are at, because I'm going to be there for them the whole time. It's different. The purpose is different from the other novels that they have been reading. Here I am guiding them, holding their hands step by step, scaffolding everything. So there are teacher guides for some books. There are teacher guides. If you're using my books, I already have teacher guides for 10 books. When you follow the teacher guide, it gives you everything already, all the verbs, all the words that you have to scaffold. And here, Maite, yo creo que fuiste tú. Yes. And here, Maite, we dive in the cultural experience, the critical thinking, but because I am there to have these discussions. So these are, if you use my books, these are some guías del maestro, teacher guides that I have for some books, but I already have teacher guides for 10 books. So all my Mosca books have a teacher guide now. And then these ones, and then I'm working on more. La Araña y los Elefantes has a teacher guide. Now, let's go to this. So we can answer my test questions better. Oh, this is not pretty. Okay, so let's talk about Revolucionarias. Revolucionarias is a collection also that I wrote along, or I've been writing along, my friend Margarita Perez Garcia. As you can see, it moves to a higher level. So these books are great from level 3 up, level 3 for IB, AP, Heritage. I do the same with this. So with my IB students, one of these books, I have a class set for TOC plans, but these books go deeper into social justice issues. So I will have questions that tackle those issues within the book. They know more Spanish, they have more Spanish, and all the books have critical thinking questions at the end. I use 2 of these books to do classroom novels, and I use the other one or the other 2 to do lit circles. So now you know what it means family words, what it means cognates. So look that it goes into the next level. That's why it's level 3 and 4 and 5. So with that, classroom novel, I have a workshop on how to do classroom novels. There is a whole thing, like a whole hour of workshop on specifically how to do classroom novels. That's not the purpose today. Lit circles, number 6, lit circles. So I like doing this with my higher students, with my year 3 students. Instead of doing a free voluntary reading classroom novel with my IB students, I prefer to do a lit circle. So students work in groups of 4 or 5 according to level and are assigned the same book per group. Each group will have a different book. They work together to read the book, understand it, and help each other. They must find a way to present the book to the class. There is also an individual evaluation to keep everyone accountable, and for upper levels, students use Leyendo con Lupa to write reviews. So you can do this with your year 2, you can do this with your beginners, because I like doing something different every year. I leave this for my advanced students, the lit circles. But as you can see, based on the instructions, you can do it with everyone. So with my year 1, I finished the course with a classroom novel. With my year 2, I finished the course with a free voluntary reading novel study. With my year 3 and 4, I finished the course with lit circles. So I have several copies, at least 5 copies of the same title, and I ask the students, go and choose your group and the title that you want to work on. So again, for example, this collection is really good for lit circles. Why? Because all the books are about revolutionary Latin American women, and all the books are written with a social justice lens. So when the students are going to share what they learned, they're going to read together, they're going to help each other understanding the book. They're going to share what they learned from the book with someone else. It's very powerful to learn from these different women. Now, I am going to show you the Leyendo con Lupa posters. These posters, you can download them for free. Bochinche.com. This is the website of our podcast, armandobochinche.com. You can find the posters and then load them for free. They're big. You can print them in your classes. I have them in my class, and I use these posters with my IB students. It's perfect. It's Maite, this goes back to your question. The critical thinking comes here hardcore. So when we're reading these books, I have discussions. When I'm doing a book talk, I have discussions. Every time I introduce a book, I have discussions with my students with a lupa. What is a lupa? It's a magnifying glass, reading with a magnifying glass. These are questions to develop critical thinking lenses when you're reading a book. So we have a lupa, a magnifying glass, that talks about women representation. We have one that talks about paternalism and the complex of the white savior. We have one that it's to dismantle the concept of normal. What is normal? A lot of books say, I have a normal family. I live in a normal house. What is normal? That's very, we have to dismantle that concept. And the magnifying glass of interculturality. So these are questions that I use in my class regularly. We have discussions on those questions. In fact, if you listen to the first episode of season 2 of the podcast, we share how to use these posters in the class. So with these posters, when they're doing the lit circles, so they have the lit circles, they have their books, they have their groups, they have the instructions, and then they have the posters. So read the book, use the posters. What do you see? Let's try to understand this book and this story from this perspective. Okay. And with that being said, I have 5 minutes for questions, and I finished the 6 ways that I use novels in my class. I don't have a lot of plans for this one. Sometimes, honestly, sometimes I don't have time to plan special questions or anything. So 5 groups of 5, get the copies of the books. I already know I have the copies of the books. All of these books have critical thinking questions at the end. So I tell them, read the book, make sure you answer the questions at the end with your friends and you discuss, and make sure together with the group, you decide how you are going to show the story, show the book to the class. It can be a skit, it can be reader's theater, it can be a short film that you do and then you present to the class. These are my plans. I'm not spending a lot of time. Like 0, actually, 0. So it's very practical and everyone has an opportunity to succeed. And I know you have a question.
Oh, no, I was just clapping. Sorry. I was just stoked. I really liked it. Sorry.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I just wanted to see number 5 again, because even though I've seen several of your presentations on the novel study, I'd like how you had it all 16.
This and
Yeah,
okay.
I think it just kind of helps if you have to leave a TOC plan for something. Sí. Gracias.
Gracias. Workshop for class novels. I don't know. One day we will give one through Voces eventually. Thank you, Claudia. Thank you, Beatriz. Thank you, Zilia. Muchas gracias. Reader's Theater. Oh, gracias, gracias. I keep trying to answer the question and then it bumps up. Make sure you, gracias por compartir. Thank you everyone for being here. Make sure you download the Lupa posters from the website of Armando Bochinche, print them, put them on your classes. Gracias, gracias, gracias. I hope it helped. All of the things that I share are zero prep except for the classroom novels, but then you can find teacher guides. The posters, Sherry. So the posters are not in French, but that's our goal. We have a plan for Margarita and I. We want to translate them into English and French. So they will be coming out eventually in French. We will let you know through the podcast. And we just developed, this is a surprise, it's not out yet, Lupa, a magnifying glass for LGBTQ plus representation in literature with a person from the, it's a collaboration, a person from the LGBTQ plus community. They help us developing the Lupa, so it's appropriate and respectful. It will come out when the episode comes out.
And I wanted to just jump in really quickly and answer a couple of the questions. If you registered for the webinar, you will get a certificate of attendance as well as an email with a link to the recording and the slides. They're also available on our website. All of our past conferences and workshops are recorded and posted there. I'm sharing that link in the chat now. So that's just a little bit of housekeeping that I wanted to do.
Thank you, Kelsey. Thank you so much. Yes, and I know I haven't given a workshop on novels, specifically novels as a classroom novel with Voces. I know that, but eventually it will happen. It will happen one day. So keep your eyes open. I hope it helped. I hope it helped. All of these things, you can do them no prep. Steven, nice to see you here.
Hola, nos vemos en Asheville este mes, en noviembre.
No voy este año.
Voy a presentar por primera vez.
Lo voy a perder.
Nos vemos pronto. Gracias por todo siempre.
Gracias, Steven. Gracias. Bueno, any more questions? No? Okay.
Well,
So
thank you so much. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your day as well. And we're just so grateful. So like I said, you guys, it'll be recorded and we'll share it with everyone. And yeah, as Adriana said, I hope that it was really helpful for everyone.
Thank you, Kelsey. Clara Isaza, Me Perdí en Medellín is a great book about traveling for intermediate low students. You love it. And there is a teacher's guide. David, soy de Medellín. Soy de Medellín.
Well, that's where you're from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm leaving too. I'm going to the
Yes.
gym.
Have fun, and everyone else have a great evening or afternoon.
Gracias.
Bye.